Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The topic that I will be discuss about is the limited adoption of value-based finance in Malaysia. These topics are related to the risk management in financial institutions in Malaysia. Moving on to the introductions. The Malaysia Islamic finance industry has been making steady progress in recent years, with the country positioning itself as a global hub for Islamic banking and finance. However, a key challenge facing the industry is the limited adoption of value-based finance principles, despite efforts by the Central Bank, Bank Negara Malaysia, BNM, to promote this approach. Value-based intermediation (VBI) has been a key focus area for BNM, as it aims to shift the industry from a profit maximization mindset to one that is more aligned with broader objectives of Sharia. The VBI framework encouraged Islamic banks to embed ethical, environmental, social and governance (ESG) considerations into their business models and product offerings. What is VBI? Value-based intermediation (VBI) is a strategic initiative introduced by Bank Negara Malaysia to strengthen the roles and impact of Islamic finance. VBI is defined as an intermediation function that aims to deliver the intended outcomes of Sharia through practices, conduct and offerings that generate positive and sustainable impact to the economy, community and environment, consistent with the shareholders' sustainable returns and long-term interest. The key aspects of VBI are: it is rooted in Sharia principles and values, using them as a moral compass and priority. It focuses on creating positivity and sustainable impact on the economy, community and environment beyond just profit maximization. It aims to align the interests of various stakeholders, including shareholders, customers and the wider community. It requires Islamic bank to recalibrate their business models, culture and mindset from a profit-driven to a more value-driven approach. The overarching goal of VBI is to position Islamic finance as a leading agent for positive change in the financial system and the broader economy. This study employed a qualitative research approach to explore the challenges and barriers to wider adoption of value-based intermediation (VBI) among Islamic banks in Malaysia. The researcher conducted in-depth interview with key stakeholders in the Malaysian Islamic finance industry, including senior executives from selected Islamic banks, regulators and policymakers from Bank Negara Malaysia, Sharia scholars and advisors, industry experts and consultants. A semi-structured interview guide was used to ensure consistency across interviews while allowing for flexibility to probe deeper into emerging themes. The interviews focus on understanding the following key areas: perceptions and attitudes towards VBI, how do Islamic banks view the VBI initiative, what are the perceived benefits and challenges, current practices and initiatives, to what extent have Islamic banks already incorporated VBI principles into their business models and operations, what are some of the key initiatives undertaken. The interview data was transcribed and analysed using thematic analysis to identify recurring themes and patterns. The researchers also reviewed relevant industry reports, regulatory guidelines and academic literature to triangulate the findings. The study aimed to provide in-depth insight into the current state of VBI adoption in Malaysia, the key challenge faced by Islamic banks and potential strategies to drive the VBI agenda forward. The findings can inform policymakers, industry leaders and other stakeholders into their efforts to promote value-based finance in the country. What is the current issues that happen in the VBI across the Malaysia? The first one is the challenge to wider adoption. The current industry stakeholders, including Islamic banks, are still largely focused on profit maximization, making it difficult to achieve the objectives of VBI. Islamic banks need to change the mindset of their key staff and shareholders from a profit-driven to a value-driven paradigm. The culture and business model of Islamic banks require recalibration to suit the value-driven approach of VBI. Reasons for acceptance and refusal are the second point. Some Islamic banks are fully supporting BNM's VBI initiatives, while others believe they had already adopted similar value-based concept earlier to achieve the objective of Sharia. BNM may need to revise and customize VBI framework to better align with the Malaysian context and culture for wider acceptance by Islamic bank. The third point is the challenge in implementing VBI towards achieving SDGs. Reluctance to embrace ESG and sustainability among some clients, particularly non-listed commercial entities and MSMEs, due to the additional reporting efforts and costs required. Exposure and concentration limits that cap how much Islamic banks can invest in green projects or sectors. And last but not least, efforts by BNM to drive VBI adoption. BNM is developing a VBI scorecard to measure adoption of the initiatives and plan and to launch it in 2023. BNM is doubling down on the implementation of value-based finance and calls for its wider adoption, not only in Islamic finance but across the financial industry. BNM believes value-based finance can be strong catalyst for sustainable growth and development in Malaysia. What are the solutions to those current issues? The first one is changing mindsets and culture. Islamic banks need to shift the mindsets of their key staff and shareholders from a profit-driven to a value-driven paradigm. This requires strong leadership commitment and targeted training programs. Banks should recalibrate their organizational culture and business models to align with VBI principles, embedding sustainable considerations into their core operations and decision-making process. The second one is customizing the VBI framework. Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) may need to revise and customize the VBI framework to better suit the Malaysia context and culture for a wider acceptance by Islamic banks. This could involve incorporating elements of existing value-based concepts that Islamic banks have already adopted. BNM should engage closely with Islamic banks to understand their concerns and incorporate their feedback into refining the VBI guidelines and requirements. BNM also can offer regulatory incentives and support measures to encourage Islamic banks to adapt VBI, such as preferential capital treatment for VBI-aligned financing or access to dedicated funding facilities. The government and industry associates should provide a capacity building programs, best practice sharing and technical assistance to help Islamic banks build their VBI capabilities. Islamic banks also should enhance their VBI-related disclosures in annual reports, dedicated sustainability reports to increase transparency and accountability. Islamic banks should actively engage with their clients, particularly in MSMEs, to raise awareness on sustainability and support them in adopting ESG practices. Banks should collaborate with industry associations, regulators and international bodies like the Global Alliance for Banking and Values (GABV) to share knowledge, develop common standards and drive collective actions on VBI. Islamic banks should align their VBI efforts with the UN Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) and global sustainability frameworks like the Principles of Responsible Banking (PRB). This will help Islamic banks tap into growing investor demand for sustainable finance and access international funding sources for VBI-aligned projects. The limited adoption of value-based finance principles as represented by the VBI initiative in Malaysia is a complex challenge that requires a multifaceted approach to address. The search results highlight the various barriers and obstacles that Islamic banks in Malaysia are facing in fully embracing the VBI agenda, ranging from the industry's persistent profit-driven mindsets to the need for significant cultural and business model changes. While Bank Negara Malaysia has been driving force behind the VBI initiatives, the search results suggest that the central bank may need to revisit and customize the VBI framework to better align with the Malaysian context and gain wider acceptance from Islamic banks. Providing targeted incentives, capacity building support and robust reporting framework could also help accelerate the adoptions of VBI across the industry. Importantly, the success of VBI will require a collaborative effort involving not just Islamic banks but also policymakers, industry associations and other key stakeholders. By working together to raise awareness, share best practices and align VBI with global sustainability frameworks, Malaysia can position its Islamic finance industry as a leader in value-based sustainable finance. The findings from this study can benefit a wide range of stakeholders, from policymakers and regulators seeking to drive the VBI agenda to Islamic banks looking to navigate the challenges and opportunities of value-based intermediation. As Malaysia continues to strengthen its position as a global hub for Islamic finance, the successful implementation of VBI will be crucial in ensuring the industry's long-term sustainability and positive impact on the economic community and environment. That's all from me. Thank you.